It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Wednesday, so over the hump we go. And the weather for today and tomorrow, some people are going to go, blah, and I get it, because it's going to be kind of wet and on the cool side and so on. But I'm still going to go back to say we need the moisture, so I'm not going to. Besides, this weekend, the forecast is really nice.
Today's show is sponsored by Wet Dog Scented Toilet Cleaner.
Yum.
Get rid of those rough stains.
Okay, that was pathetic. I liked it till it got to the end of it. And that was.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
I do have a lot of really good news stories for you today, but before we get into all of that, this is just going to make your day. A China zoo, or a zoo in China, is facing a whole lot of backlash because they were trying to pass off dyed dogs as pandas. So it's actually really cute looking. And so they take these dogs that are really, fluffy, furry dogs, right? Preferably with either white or black fur. And then they go ahead and dye them so they look like a panda, including the big, round black around the eyes but a white head. And then they let these dogs run around in the zoo as Chinese zoo sparks fury after painting a Chow Chow dog, that's the name of the breed, to look like pandas in their latest attraction. They tried to pass it off on these people, and it just didn't. Let's see, there's a video of this. Wonder what this sounds like. Okay. There's a couple of problems here. First off, they walk around like dogs. They don't walk like pandas. And what are they going to do when one of these things barks? People were upset. Yeah. Obviously, the way these things are running around and the way they play with each other, these are puppies. So, okay, that's... I wonder, were they just not able to get a hold of a real panda? The zoo defending its actions by claiming that the dye was harmless and natural and that the transformation was to make up for the absence of pandas. Okay, but here's the thing. If you're going to do that, you should put up a sign that says, sorry we couldn't get pandas. How about these puppies instead? Don't try to fool people. Story says, according to the zoo officials, the dye, again, harmless. Video shows the dogs in their costumes, really just dyed, playing in the enclosure as voices, as you just heard. Some visitors accuse the zoo of animal cruelty. Spokesperson said they just dyed the hair. I mean, come on. Let me see. Oh, this was good. This is not the first time China has tried this with animal appearances. In 2013, a zoo in eastern China took a Tibetan Mastiff, which a type of dog, in an enclosure and said it was a lion. And they tried to make it up to look like a lion. Okay. So if you're going to go to a Chinese zoo, you might want to be just a little suspect. Here, Miss Mary, I'm sending this to you because I just think you'll go to a Chinese zoo, be a little suspect of what kind of animals that you're looking at there. because it might not be a panda. It might not be a lion. I don't know what they're going to do when it comes to monkeys. But you think after they tried this the first time and people caught them, that they go ahead and try this the second time? All right. Again, I wouldn't have had a problem with it if they had just said right off the bat, hey, by the way, we couldn't get any pandas for you. So here's a couple of puppies we dyed their hair. So we're just going to pretend. Just tell them that, and people might actually think it's cute. The fact that they try to get away with it. All right. So I sent the thing to Miss Mary. She's typing back. Ian was just showing me these dogs the other day. Yeah. Have you watched the video, Miss Mary? Because the video is hysterical. There's a certain way that pandas move. We've seen videos of pandas. There's a certain way that they move. And then there's a certain way that puppies move. And it's just not the same thing. Now, I still have the question for you. I want to know what they did. What happens if one of the pandas barks? I really want to know. Then they're absolutely screwed. Okay, now there's one other, if I still have this from the other day. I went and played some audio. I might have gotten rid of this, but there was some audio. There was a woman and her husband, and they really do look like they're Barbies, Ken and Barbie. And they decided that their dog, since they were vegans, that their dog, here I do have the audio, is supposed to be a vegan too. So they've been feeding their dog a vegan diet. And they're convinced that their dog wants to be a vegan. So they're on a television show in the UK. And the host of the television show says, okay, let's test that theory. And brought out to the dog is a bowl of the vegetarian dish that these people swear the dog likes, and a bowl of meaty dog food. So let's see what happens.
Perk up, be a lot happier.
Does she like it straight away? Like you put that food down, she doesn't turn her nose up?
She likes more of the wet food type thing.
Yeah.
It's more palatable as she's drinking loads of water. But no, really took to it.
2 bowls here, right?
Oh, no.
One is full of vegetables and one is full of meat. Storm.
Right.
Storm, we
Don't
hate
let
to
her
put the
loose.
temptation in front of you,
You
but
ready
it's
for
over to you.
lunch, Storm?
Right?
Oh, I'm
let her go.
Should I let her go?
Let her go.
Oh, she's obviously going to go. Obviously. Oh, you little...
Yes.
This is
There
where
it
the
is.
woman was convinced, obviously, her dog is going to go for the vegetarian dish because, well, they raised their dog to be a vegetarian. That's since a puppy, they raised their dog to be a vegetarian. So obviously the dog is going to go for the vegetarian dish. My answer to this is the dog was eating the vegetarian food because it was hungry, and that's all there was being offered to it. So it would just go ahead and eat it. Not that it was enjoying it. It was just there, and there was nothing else to eat. But when given a choice, as the dog grew up to adulthood, now finally given the chance to eat meat, the dog knows exactly what to do. And it completely shocked Ken and Barbie, the vegan couple. What do you mean he actually likes meat? Yes, because he's a dog. And he's not a panda either.
In Washington today, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down a landmark decision. The court reaffirmed the legality of the death penalty on the grounds that it is, quote, totally badass.
Legal experts are already talking about how this clearly marks a trend towards the Roberts Court being less strictly constitutional and more strictly awesome.
Wake up, Wyoming, with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Got something to say? Chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app or call 888-97-WOODS.
6:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, so I will get to, there's a couple of more universities that were cleared out last night, and that is interesting news. And I'll certainly get to that, especially the reaction of the students when they get cleared out. Oftentimes, to me anyway, can really be funny, what they think is going on compared to what actually is going on. But all right, this is the different one for you, completely different. And my reaction might not be the same as you hear many other talk show hosts out there. Headline: Boyscouts changed their name to be more inclusive. Boy Scouts have changed their name to Scouting America. The Boy Scout CEO announced the name change to Scouting America to be more inclusive, he said. They can bring their authentic self. They can be who they are, and they will be welcome here. Okay. So I'm reading from an opinion piece here, and I thought, well, one thought I had when Boy Scouts started going more, and some of you will use the term woke, that's fine. Right away, I said on the air, this is years ago, if you don't like what the Boy Scouts are doing, start your own group. And then I find out many people were. In fact, there's even some groups, I haven't spoken to them in a while, in Wyoming, but across the country, people are starting local groups that are just like the original Boy Scouts were. So if you don't like what the Boy Scouts are doing, go somewhere else. Start your own group if there isn't one. Now, the author of this article says, all right, Scout Law. Scout Law has 12 points. Each is a goal for every scout. Scout tries to live up to these laws every day. It's not always easy, but they do. So they are trustworthy. They tell the truth, keep their promises. People can depend on them. Loyal, show that you care about your family, friends, scout leaders, school, country. Helpful, volunteer without expecting any kind of reward. Friendly, be a friend to everyone, even people who are very different from you. Be courteous, polite, and always have good manners. Kind, treat others as you want to be treated. Never harm or kill any living thing without a good reason. So stepping on a cockroach, in other words. All right. Obedient, follow the rules of your family, school, and pack. Obey the laws of your community and country. Cheerful, look on the bright side of life. Cheerful, do tasks that come your way. Try to be helpful. Thrifty, I love this. Work to pay your own way. Do not be wasteful. Use time, food, supplies, and natural resources wisely. But I love that first one. Work to pay your own way. Brave. Face difficult situations even when you feel afraid. Do what you think is right despite what others might be doing or saying. And clean. Keep your body and your mind fit. Keep your home and your community clean. And reverent. Be reverent toward God. Be faithful to your religious duties. Respect the beliefs of others. Now, the reason for that last one, originally the Boy Scouts were a Christian organization that was set up to teach young boys how, well, first off, skills that they could use in the real world. Also skills that they could use in nature, right? But it was to teach them skill sets, but also to teach them, as you just heard, manners and work ethic and things like that. That's what the Boy Scouts were all about. And it was started, again, as a Christian organization. Now, over the years, they've moved way away from that. So if they want to be inclusive, as they're saying, and many of the things that the Boy Scouts have done over the years have upset people who are Boy Scout originalists, my thought is, well, it's a private organization. And if you don't like what they're doing, don't join. Don't send your kid there. There are other organizations out there. The Boy Scouts can do whatever they want. And maybe this change, there's that slight possibility that this change will help the organization to grow. But I look at it as something that probably, we'll see what happens, but my thought is it'll probably drive more people away. The Boy Scouts have been in trouble for a while as an organization, getting new recruits, things like that. And this will probably it's not going to make it easy for them. I think a lot of parents will look at this and just say, I'm not sending my kid there. I'm going somewhere else. So it's been a while since I've heard from organizations, I know they're out there, that are Boy Scout replacement organizations. But if you wanted your kid to participate in scouting, they are out there. Put some feelers out. Usually just check on the internet for groups like that and go check them out and find out what they're all about. And if you like the idea, well, then your kid can be a part of them. And if you want the traditional values of the original Boy Scouts, then those groups are available. If there's not a group like that available in your neighborhood, then go ahead and start one. It's actually not all that hard to do, other than you just got to make sure that you have time available to go do Boy Scout events. the camping and the crafts and other stuff like that. Oftentimes, parents will send their kids to Boy Scouts, not just because it was really good training for them, again, in skills, in motivation, in being polite, and, learning how to make men out of young men. There's a lot of work goes into that. And a lot of parents would send their kids there for those reasons, but also because it gave parents time to be away from their kids for a while and get other things done. So oftentimes good church organizations already have their version of the Boy Scouts as well. But that's the route that they're going down right now. And as more of the libertarian guy, I look at it and think, well, I understand what you traditionalists want out of this, but my thought is it's a private group and they can do what they want. And if you don't like it, go somewhere else or start your own group. We'll now wait and see if this helps or hurts the Boy Scouts. We'll see. Coming up on 6:30, local news coming your way. After local news update on your weather forecast, you and I get back into it again. Phone number is 888-97-WOODS, 888-97-WOODS. I do have just a little bit, on the camps, one in Washington, D.C., one in New York. Protest camps that were broken up overnight. And as usual, the kids that were pushed out of there just don't seem to understand what's going on. I'll explain it next. Wake Up Wyoming.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. If you just missed what I was saying a few minutes ago, Boy Scouts have decided to change their name to Scouting America, according to the president of the Boy Scouts, to be more inclusive. And I was reading originally what the Boy Scouts were all about. Red and Casper, it doesn't sound like those are bad values to teach kids. No, they were wonderful values. Would rather them be a scout than a college student. Yeah, I understand that. Milo and Fort Danger. And because I was saying that if you don't like what the Scouts are doing, join a different group or start your own. So Milo says, and soon the woke will destroy the alternatives. Now, Milo, don't be pessimistic. Don't go down that road. That's not good. Be optimistic about it. You can start your own group and outdo and put the Boy Scouts out of business. Okay, be proactive and optimistic, and that's how you win this. Take the pessimistic route, you can't win anything with that attitude. All right, now, so some college students, again, one at a George Washington University in Washington, D.C., that's where they defaced the statue of George Washington. And then also there's a university in New York, both of which the college kids were run out because of their encampments and protests. Now, I just came across this meme, which is great. Man who agrees with the media, that's the liberal media, universities, liberal corporations, and Hollywood, thinks he's part of the resistance. So that's essentially what we're dealing with here. All right, so at, I think it was George Washington University in Washington, D.C., of course, the police show up in the middle of the night to wake them up out of their tents and push them out of there. And all of these college kids got up and tried to resist, but they were pushed out. And I was listening to one of the chants. Why are you wearing riot gear? They're yelling at the police. Well, because of you guys. It got dangerous, and you're destroying property. You want to show up and protest, go ahead. But the encampment is not allowed by the university. So you're trespassing. Most of the people with you are not even students. So they're trespassing. And then, of course, the violence and intimidation and vandalism starts. Speaking of vandalism, George Washington anarchists call for a beheading of school administrators among the encampment. Anarchists at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. have apparently called for the beheading of the school administrator and their continued anti-Israel encampment. Now, even if they're just saying that just to say that, still, demonstrators on campus called for the guillotine to be used for the president and other school administrators. A video posted on social media showed it. And they're chanting, guillotine, 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 guillotine. A person repeatedly chanted, and the others joined in. See, when you start to do stuff like this, hell no. Quote, to the guillotine, another can be heard shouting, off with their blankety blank and to the gallows with you. At least 35 people were arrested overnight. I was watching part of that when I got here this morning. Several members of the encampment then held a mock court hearing to decide the fate of the administrators, according to the report. The incident was recorded from Instagram Live. In the video, the encampment leader rendered a fake verdict. The mock court continued with verdicts from George Washington University Board of Trustees and the school's president shouting for each of these individuals to be beheaded in public. The agitators caused chaos, the story says, in the yard throughout the night. And then police finally just restored order by removing all of them. That's the group that was yelling to the police, why are you wearing riot gear? Well, police finally moved about 3:30 a.m. That's why I was watching it here live. 3:30 a.m. their time. I was already here at work. Used pepper spray and so on. 4 days of the encampment. And I watched police clear up the whole thing, moving the tents out of the way. And yeah, a lot of the tents were pretty much the same make, model, and color. So when this is why I was saying earlier, these students don't seem to understand what's going on. Why are you waking us up in the middle of the night? Perfect time to hit you. Because you were all sleeping. Perfect time. Why are you wearing riot gear? Oh, I don't know, calling for the beheading of the president and the administrators of the school. That might be. And also vandalizing property and intimidating people who show up but disagree with you. That might be one of the reasons why they showed up with riot gear. Just tossing that out there. But these are very young people who are very impressionable at this point. And so, no, they're naive. They don't totally understand what's going on.
Okay, for $10 billion, would you... Yes. No, I didn't finish the question. Listen here. There was nothing, and I mean nothing, that could come out of that little pie hole of yours to make me turn down $10 billion. Even if one random person had to die? Yes. The answer is yes. Okay, what if it was someone you knew? Yes, take my aunt, take my grandma. Hell, you could blow the block up. Can you even fathom how much money $10 billion is? Oh, it's just a hypothetical. And if it was a reality, I'd be first in...
Serious takes on local politics, or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
6:48 is the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino is waiting by. So I got to get Frank's reaction on this.
Okay.
Frank, so let's say you're at a zoo in China.
Okay.
Yeah, and you go over to see the pandas. I mean, obviously. Right?
Yeah, they're right there, yeah.
But they didn't have pandas available. But they didn't want to disappoint you. So they took some big fluffy puppies. And they dyed their hair.
No, really?
Yes.
Where were the pandas?
They couldn't get any.
Oh, they're out.
Yeah, they just couldn't get
Amazon them.
Yes. So here are these puppies, which are not big enough to be pandas.
Not even close,
no. And they're painted up like pandas, though, but they're running around. See, there's a way that a panda moves, and there's a way that a puppy moves.
They're very different.
Yes. Also, I keep asking the question, what the hell are they going to do when the panda barks?
It's a new species of panda.
I would guess so.
And you're looking at it smaller, it walks different, and it makes different noises.
Okay, here's another one for you. If you were to toss a panda a bamboo stick, the panda will grab the bamboo stick and eat it.
Yes.
If you toss a panda puppy a bamboo stick, it will pick it up and rush it back to you and want you to throw it again.
Right. And that's is why the science doesn't quite add up.
It doesn't
here.
quite add up, no. So people who are watching this started going, hey. And so the zoo just came out and said, sorry, we didn't want to disappoint. Now, see if you agree with what I think the zoo should have done. Go ahead, paint the puppies, dye their hair. Yeah. It's fun. And then put a sign up. Sorry, we couldn't get you any pandas. Hopefully these dyed puppies will suffice.
Well, I would let the people figure it out on their own. Maybe they'll walk out of the zoo like, wow, I never saw a panda like that.
I thought pandas were bigger than that.
Yeah.
I really did. I didn't know pandas barked. I never heard a panda make a noise before. Yeah. They bark?
Yeah.
They play fetch?
Yeah, and they're at the zoo in China.
And they're meat eaters, apparently. Because, because pandas aren't, but puppies are, okay?
Exactly. Now, in high school soccer, those regional tournaments do begin on Thursday. The 4A West will be in Jackson and Star Valley. On the girls' side, Kelly Walsh gets a first-round bye. Natrona is a 4 seed. They'll play Green River in the first round on Thursday. On the 4A boys for the West, Jackson gets the first-round bye. Kelly Walsh is a 2nd seed. They'll meet Riverton in the first round. And Natrona is a 5 seed. They'll take on Star Valley. The 4A East girls soccer regional will be in Cheyenne Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Laramie has the first-round bye for the girls. East is a 5 seed. They'll take on Sheridan in the first round. Thunder Basin, a 3 seed, will take on Cheyenne South as a 6 seed, also in that first round. And Cheyenne Central is a 7 seed. They'll meet Campbell County. On the boys' side, Cheyenne Central gets that first round bye. Cheyenne East is a 4 seed. They'll meet 5th seed at Laramie in the first round. Also, Sheridan, the 2nd seed, will take on Cheyenne South at 7 p.m. And those regional tournaments will run through Saturday. High school softball, the regular season winding down here. The top 4 teams from the East, the top 4 teams from the West make the state tournament. In the West, Kelly Walsh is 5-14-1. They had got to win a couple of more games to try to get in there. And the Tronas a 3 seed, and they were 14-6-2. On the East, Cheyenne East is 19-5. They're in 3rd place right now. Laramie's in 5th at 9-12. Cheyenne Central 10-13. They're in 6th. And Cheyenne South, they're not going to make the state tournament. They are 0-17. That's it in sports.
Okay, so how much longer do we have until finally the Denver, whatever that team's name is, that we need to forget anyway because they suck that much, just no longer is playing baseball this year?
Well, I would normally write them off about the 4th of July.
Okay.
You know, we will give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But the 4th of July is the demarcation line.
Okay, because I figure they can't have many games left if they keep losing like this.
Well, no, they got to play them all. That's the problem.
Oh. So, I mean, even if they're way in last place, you can't
it's
just... It's not like the bracket system here.
No, it's not like the kids on the playground. We're losing 20-0. We quit.
Oh, no, I mean, at some point, do they just... But they got to play the whole season anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, those poor guys.
Yeah, I think they're well compensated to sit in the dugout and chew gum for a meaningless game.
Do they have any fans left?
There's a few.
Okay.
You know, I like going to the games. I think it's a blast.
Yeah, because it's cheap parking and cheap seats.
Yes.
Yes, okay. You know, it's fun when every seat is a cheap seat.
Well, some are cheaper than others.
That's right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on your weather forecast. You and I get back into it. 888-97 Woods, the phone number 888-97-WOODS. Wake up, Wyoming. Six the time. Wake up, Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Wednesday, so over the hump we go. And expect it's just a mixed mash of weather coming your way. Which, by the way, 7:45, Don Day's going to be on to explain it all. Couple more nice days of just wind, and some places get snow and rain. weekend so far is looking pretty good.
Today's show is sponsored by Wet Dog Scented Toilet Cleaner. Get rid of those rough stains.
Okay, that was really bad, but I'll play it anyway. All right, before I get on to this local topic I have lined up here, just something, that ridiculously large television they have in the studio with me here. I've been watching as they cleaned up last night George Washington University, which is in Washington, D.C. They got the protesters out of there, and New York University as well. One young lady who's protesting that was run out of camp last night, she's wearing, like everybody else, she's wearing one of those masks, which today we tend to associate as COVID masks. But, you know, the surgical mask thing. So she was asked why she was wearing the mask. Well, I don't want my parents to know that I'm here doing this. Okay. First off, for the parents out there who are spending a lot of money to send your kids to these universities, this is what you're getting out of it. And your kids don't want you to know that they're doing this. Second, hey, young lady, you can go ahead and put a mask over your face like that. Your parents know who you are. They raised you. Even with the mask on, they recognize you. This, folks, is a lot like when Superman put on the glasses to become Clark Kent. And that was supposed to fool everybody. Batman and Robin. Robin wore that little eye mask thing here. Like that was supposed... In fact, for the longest time I laughed. There was a period of time on evening news and documentaries and so on. Whenever they didn't want to show somebody's identity, they would just put a little black line across their eyes. Like that was supposed to do something. Like we weren't going to recognize them. And you've seen this happen. Let's say you're in a room and somebody doesn't want you to know that they are there. So they put their hand up on the side of their face to hide their face. Now, do you recognize that? Of course you do. They can put their hand up to hide their face, but you know who that is. They can put both hands up over their face, but you still recognize them, because recognition is not just from the face, especially when you're talking about your parents. They know you, and they know your voice, too, even behind the mask. So I just thought that was hysterical. I'm watching this young lady. I don't want my parents to know. I would love for your parents to see that and then reconsider how much money they're spending on what's supposed to be your education, but you're not in class, you're outside doing that. All right, let's get back to the state of Wyoming real quick here. Hey, Casper, you're up. Casper Group buckles down on keeping gravel pit away from Coach Road. And they sent a formal demand to the governor. So this is the next step of it. I did have the lady in charge of this organization here last week, the Casper Mountain Preservation Alliance. A group that's, the story says, buckling down on their mission to keep a proposed gravel pit out of the Squaw Creek and Coach Road area in Casper. Group sent a 69-page letter to the state capitol via email, addressed to Governor Mark Gordon, demanding immediate action to preserve the health, safety, and homes of thousands of Wyoming citizens in Natrona County. Says, quote, as you are aware, our organization, Casper Mountain Preservation Alliance, has expressed profound concern regarding significant oversight in the permit approval and conduct of Prism Logistics exploratory activities in the backyard of our members and our neighbors' homes. Their letter expresses further concerns about the Wyoming DEQ and Office of State Lands and Investments and other such agencies. They don't like how the whole thing came together. Quote, a detailed review of the investigation reports revealed that cascading errors resulted in a failure to meet fundamental standards for a complete inspection. For instance, rudimentary tools such as a map of the exploratory site are not provided to inspectors. Such gaps in essential investigative tools and discrepancies in measurement practices reveal a disturbing pattern of incompetence and cast serious doubts on the reliability and integrity of both departments. So, all right, that's the letter that they've sent to the governor. The story goes on. It is on the Wake Up Wyoming site this morning. which you can go ahead and take a look at. Use your Wake Up Wyoming app, and you'll see it as well in further details. And again, I did have a chance on air to interview the president of this group, and that was one of the options that they had, was talking to the governor about this as well. So we'll see. And at some point, this has to obviously go to court, which could take a while here. Now, what I haven't heard from yet is the other side of this. The gentleman in the company that wants to make a gravel pit up there, I would like to hear more of what they have to say about it. Because so far, they're being portrayed as the bad guys in all of this. And why can't they just go dig a gravel pit somewhere else? The question has been asked. Also, there's several listeners to this program who have sent me notes saying, you realize how little they paid per acre for that land? Well, yeah, but a lot of money goes into putting a project like this together. It's not just a matter of how much they paid per acre. So you can imagine the company that's trying to invest in this gravel pit has put a lot of money out, which is why they don't want to just back off at this point. They want to continue on with the project. So there's where we are right now. We're waiting for a response from the governor, and we'll wait to see what kind of lawsuits are put together over this, and it'll be a while. It all started when residents of this community looked over and saw a backhoe real close to their homes, and were wondering, what's the backhoe doing over there? And so they started looking into it, and that's how they found out about it. If it had not been for that, then in questions that they had asked, then they suddenly would have had a gravel pit being dug in their backyard, and they wouldn't have known about it until it was happening. Their concern is also on Coach Road, because Coach Road at one point goes really close by that neighborhood and some of those homes, and that may very well be where a lot of the trucks will have to go back and forth in order to move the gravel. So same situation happened a few years ago in Laramie County, west of Cheyenne, when a gravel pit was being put into an area that had some homes there. In that case, the homeowners lost that one, and the gravel pit's there. That's where we are right now. We'll wait to see what the governor has to say. And my understanding is that the governor is able perhaps to do something about this, or at least put a freeze on it until something is. In most cases, we'll see, lawyers will get a court injunction, which means nothing can be done with the property until the case is settled. I'm expecting that's probably what's going to happen next.
I don't run to get ready for bikini season. I run so that in the year 2030, when I'm locked out of my electric car for having a bad social credit score, I can get outside the 15-minute city limits and escape the United Nations robocops that are after me for having a steak after I've reached my CO2 limit.
Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
7:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. All right, 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS, but open phones isn't until a little bit later on this morning. And I always give you some open phones at some point during the course of the morning. I don't just do it on Fridays. All right, so usually about the 8 o'clock hour. All right, now, gaming industry has become a big thing in Wyoming. And there are some people who are very much in favor of it and some people who are not. To me, before I get into this story that I have in front of me here, my only concern has been, which is I think a pretty good concern, I was asked to go and take a look at several gaming places that opened up in different towns around Wyoming that I've lived in. And one of the things that always worried me, these are skill games. They're not just direct slot machine gambling, but more what they call skill games. And when I looked at who was playing these machines, which still look a lot like, let's say, I just won $500, they'll say. Yeah, but it cost you $2,000 to win the $500, or more than that, most likely. All right. Over the next few months, the Wyoming Gaming Commission will engage in a gaming expansion study to see what further expansion of Wyoming gaming industry would look like and whether they should. That's another one of those things that I say, you can go ahead and make it illegal. However, that doesn't stop people from doing it. They'll find a way. So legal gaming now comes in all forms, skill-based games. And then there's, let's see, the different kind of live horse racing and sports gaming in Wyoming. I've seen some of those places where up on a television, there's a horse race going on somewhere. And people can watch it and bet on the horse race right there, even though they're in Wyoming. The current structure of the Gaming Commission is its relationship, the story says, which would be analyzed under the study, as would regulations of all wagering activities in Wyoming. Former House Speaker Tom Lubnow, who also serves as liaison for Governor Mark Gordon to the Gaming Commission, said the group needs policy guidance, which is a viewpoint shared by Governor Gordon. I don't believe it's their job to set Wyoming policy, he said, but Lubnow said Wednesday he needs an overreaching framework for its gaming laws across the state instead of piecing together various laws over time. He also wants a more clear vision of whether the state is on the road to full legalization of gambling or not. And my thought there is, well, we already have legalized gambling within the state of Wyoming, although technically not in the state of Wyoming. And by that, of course, obviously, you take a look at our Indian reservations where they have gambling there. I mean, that technically is a different country, but it's within the state of Wyoming, though not in Wyoming. You see what I mean? So does Wyoming then engage in this? Quote, gaming is just relocating money from unlucky people to lucky people, with the operators taking out commissions as it goes through. How much of that occurs before it becomes a big toll on Wyoming paychecks? Well, that's where I often say to people who are gambling is that what you want to do with your paycheck? But again, your money. One of the stories, I saw this the first time I ever went to Deadwood. I went to Deadwood to see the history of Deadwood. The first time when I moved to Wyoming, I went to Deadwood because I was curious about the history of Deadwood. And right away, everybody thought I was going there to gamble. And I don't really gamble. I don't. The most I do is I might on a whim buy an occasional lottery ticket. Other than that, I don't gamble. So I went there with someone who knew Deadwood, and he went to a poker game. After wandering around and exploring Deadwood for a while, I went back to see how he was doing, and he had a nice stack of cash next to him. He was doing well. And I leaned over and whispered to him, "You should leave now." And he said, "No, I'm on a roll." I said, "No, you should really leave now." "I'm not going anywhere." "No, I'm on a roll." All right, I went and made myself busy, came back a little while later, and he was walking out of there, and he looked really depressed because he had lost everything and more. Yeah, when you get that stack of money in front of you, pick up and go. That's the time. All right, so the story says, as of 2023, there were 2,486 gaming terminals at 43 Wyoming locations. Totaled 98% of the Gaming Commission's overall revenues since 2013 can be attributed to proceeds of historic horse racing, which is wagering on previously held races from around the world. I don't know how that works. Don't ask me. I don't know. From 2013 to 2023, revenue from historic racing provided $69.8 million for local governments and another $36.3 million for the state government. So that shows that your local government and the state of Wyoming want a piece of this action. Marcia Sharp, an attorney representing Wyoming Horse Racing LLC, said recent study compiled by her industry showed that in 2022, horse racing generated about $150 million in overall economic impact on Wyoming. So for those people who love the idea of, well, this is going to bring tax revenue in, it certainly does. And it's people, in this case, voluntarily giving up their money. So this is where, again, we have to see possible limits on this. If we do limits, does it have any effect? Does it just mean that people who want to gamble, if we were to, let's say we closed it all down, do they just go gamble somewhere else and that money is not Wyoming's money? It's lost somewhere else instead of lost to us? Just things to consider while they go through all of this. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack here. Coming up on 7:30, local news coming your way after local news update on your weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. 7:45, Dawn Day. Man's got some explaining to do because the weather is just schizophrenic for the next couple of days anyway. It's Wake Up Wyoming. 40.
Now, Glenn Woods fits in your pocket with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming, ladies and gentlemen, your favorite song.
Well, I like guns, I like the way they look. I like the shiny steel and the polished wood. I don't care if they're big or small. If they're for sale, well, hell, I want them all. I like guns, I like guns, I like guns.
Biden administration with more gun rules, and the headline, again, Cowboy State Daily, Wyoming joins lawsuit to stop new Biden administration gun sale rule. Saying, so much of this I thought we had settled at the U.S. Supreme Court, but all right. That's the Biden administration with its lawmaking by rulemaking. Story says, saying the federal government recent attempt to close gun show loophole by increasing gun vendor licensing and background checks is unconstitutional. Wyoming and 20 other states are suing to stop the new rule. Now, again, a rule, as I always say, is a law written by bureaucrats, and we're not supposed to do it that way in this country. Plaintiffs also quote a 1985 speech by then-Senator Joe Biden, Democrat, Delaware, in which Biden said gun control would not reduce crime and criminals could get guns with or without gun control laws. Somebody go back and do that again. 1985. He said it this way at the time because, well, that's what he thought people wanted to hear at the time. But when he thinks his constituents want to hear something different, he'll say something different. 1985, U.S. Senator Joe Biden said gun control would not reduce crime and criminals would get guns with or without gun control laws. So Congress changed the 1968 Gun Control Act slightly 2 years ago by defining gun sellers subject to licensing requirements as people selling for profit, or removing the law's earlier caveat that those sellers also need to be making a livelihood from gun sales to fall subject to those rigors of licensing. So I think what they're trying to do here, which I think is absurd, but okay, if I have a gun and you would like to buy it and it's just between you and me, nobody needs to be licensed. But if I go to gun shows on a regular basis on the weekend to sell guns as a business to really make a profit from constant gun sales, I would need to be licensed for that. President Biden and Director of Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms then turned toward the ATF's rulemaking authority to clinch up the agency's rules around that law to tweak it a bit. Quote, from a tiny seed, the Biden administration and the Secretary sought to smuggle into the back door what Congress had long refused to allow in the front door, says the lawsuit. Near universal background checks with criminal edges is so fuzzy that few individuals would risk private sales of firearms. The ATF finalized the rule April 10th to go into effect May 20th, according to the rule's text. So now, suing along with other states, Kansas gun control collector Philip Journey, who was also a state court judge there, and Alan Beck, who sometimes sells guns from his personal collection at gun shows, and then some others. Kansas-based nonprofit group, which also seeks to preserve craftsmanship and history of guns. Some of these people are collectors. I mean, I think people are selling pistols and so on. A lot of these people are collectors. And while the gun works, it's not like they're really using it, except maybe to go to the range once in a while because they can. But I know quite a few people who have some really, I'm going to say fun, old guns, not just to look at, but to hold and sometimes shoot because they're collectors. The plaintiffs are asking federal court to postpone the effective date of the rule until they can do something about it. And then they say it's unlawful, a violation of power from the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to block the federal government from enforcing it. Well, okay. Congress did not try to regulate interstate firearm industries until 1934, when it passed the National Firearms Act, which required dealers of short-barreled rifles and short-barreled shotguns and machine guns to register and pay a tax. And then it kind of grew from there. Now, again, the story is on Cowboy State Daily if you want to read the whole thing. Other states in this lawsuit with Wyoming are Kansas, Arkansas, Iowa, Montana, Alaska, Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. Those are the states that are all joining us in this lawsuit. I still like taking guns fishing.
Hi, folks. Daytona Dan Jackson here. And if you're anything like me, you live for this. You love the fresh air, you love the great outdoors, and you love to maximize your fish yield, which is why I use this, the Daytona Fish Gun. It's the best way to kill fish, bar none.
Catching a fish with a stick and string is frustrating and dangerous. Hooks are sharp, tackle boxes are heavy, and worms are proven disease carriers. Even if you catch a fish, you gotta get it onto the boat and you gotta neutralize it. The whole process is time-consuming and inefficient. There's no worms. You just take the gun, point it down into your fishing hole, and fire away. Whether you're 80 or 8 years old, the Daytona turns fish in a lake into fish in a barrel.
And we're back. Sorry, we were busy tricking pescatarians into eating Rocky Mountain oysters. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day with Day Weather. Don, I looked up the word schizophrenic in the dictionary, and it says, see Wyoming spring weather.
Yep, I think that's a very good way to describe it.
Possibly, yeah. And it really, for a while there, last night just before sunset, where I am anyway, it just got beautiful out there. But now it's starting to turn on us again.
Yeah, there's a gap. There was a gap in the waves of moisture circulating around this deep storm that's over western South Dakota. And the next wave of moisture is rotating southwestward out of Montana into Wyoming, eastern Idaho right now. So it's just curling around the low and headed south. We've got rain and areas of snow along I-90 across the Bighorn Basin. We have some showers now moving into the Wind River Basin. And so these showers will slowly spread south throughout the course of the day today, mainly affecting the central and northern half of the state. Some of these showers will get into the southern parts of the state by late afternoon and evening, and especially overnight. And the yuck is going to be with us through the day tomorrow with chilly temperatures. These showers, mountain snows are going to continue. We've got winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories for the northern and western and northwest mountains of the state. Also, those advisories for winter weather up on Casper Mountain and into that Laramie Peak area. So we've got another 48 hours of this, Glenn, through today, through tomorrow. Friday is when you're going to start to notice the yuckiness going away.
Okay. Now, does that mean Friday morning is yucky, but by the time we get off work, it's nice?
Well, it's going to still be chilly Friday.
Okay.
We're going to wake up to some pretty chilly temperatures. Friday is what we call that transition day, to where it starts to get better, but it's not the best day, but it starts to get better.
Okay. Let's see. I-80 John, who's up there in Grand Canyon. Morning, Glenn. Can you ask Don when he installed the 11 setting on the wind machine? And if
What do you mean 11? I moved it to 12.
Oh, 12? Okay. Well, you ever watch the movie Spinal Tap?
Oh, of course.
Okay,
yes.
So there you go. There's the 11 setting on it. So as we get out of this during the course of the weekend is looking nice so far. What's the wind doing?
Well, the wind will die down considerably. The mechanisms responsible for the wind move away with this storm.
Okay.
So the winds are going to be down considerably. Are they going to be 0? No. But they're going to be down considerably, and it's going to be a lot warmer. The sun will be out, and that May sun is quite good.
Yeah.
If you stand outside and you're in it, it's going to feel a lot warmer than the air temperature. But I see 60s and some lower 70s coming this weekend. We're going to see a little bit of late day shower and thunderstorm activity in the south, but it's your typical spring late day shower thunderstorm pattern. So overall, just in time for Mother's Day, we turn the corner. And really, we should all be happy about this because the lousy weather's during the work week and the better weather's going to be during the weekend.
All right. Thank you, Don. Don Day with Day Weather. Off we go to the ice box where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay.
I can handle this.
You can.
Yeah, I think, couple of down days, stay inside, hang out.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Save up
All
energy
right.
for the weekend.
Yeah, then you got to, are you going anywhere on the weekend?
Well, there's regional track meets I want to go to, and I have to literally the morning, like Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, which of these locales has the best weather right now?
Right now, yeah.
Which one will have the best weather tomorrow on Saturday?
So there's how you make your plans.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And it could be bad everywhere, so it's all evens out, and we just go everywhere.
All right, now perfect headline for you, Frank. This is right up your alley. Okay. Now, instead of Florida man, this is Florida woman, who I would argue is worse than the Florida man.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to remind people it was not this way when I was growing up there. Okay.
Are you sure?
Yes. I never saw these headlines when I was there.
Okay.
Florida woman arrested for slapping boyfriend in the face with a taco.
Was there not enough sauce on it or something?
I don't know. I mean, did she not put the sour cream on there? I don't understand. Why would you be upset because you were slapped in the face with a taco? Would you rather a burrito?
Okay. And did they actually have to call the cops about something like this?
I kind of guess so, yeah. Now, as I just want to toss this out there to the guys, I think you'll probably agree with me on this one, Frank. As a man, to turn to a police officer and say, well, I called you because she slapped me in the face with a taco, do you really want to say that to the cop and watch the cop's expression as he goes to write this up, especially if it's a lady cop?
Oh, yeah. And the cop goes, well, that's your problem, sir.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Not mine.
Because when the cop gets back to the precinct.
Oh, they're going to talk about this for years.
Oh, my God, yeah. You wouldn't believe the call I got. Top this one. Guy called me on his girlfriend because she slapped him in the face with a taco. That's going down in the record books. Then it makes the local newspapers.
Well, now the guy his life is over.
Yeah, I would just say
he'll be working for the taco place.
Tell her to do it again with some extra sour cream, and you're good.
There you go. Girls high school softball, the regular season ending very soon, and that state tournament will be coming up May the 16th through the 18th up in Gillette. So the top 4 teams from the East, the top 4 teams from the West qualify for the state tournament. So there's a couple of spots still up for grabs, kind of. Now, in the West, Natrona's a 3 seed. They're going to be in, and they are 14-6-2. Kelly Walsh has got to fight their way in. They're currently in 5th place at 5-14-1. In the East from 4A, Cheyenne East is in 3rd in the standings. They're 19-5, so they're in good shape. Laramie's is in 5th place at 9-12 on the outside looking in. Same thing with Cheyenne Central, 10-13, and Cheyenne South, they're not going to make it at 0-17. In high school track and field from over the weekend, the big Wiseman meet in Torrington was held. For the girls, Talia Morris of Cheyenne East had a long jump of 20 feet even. Now, that exceeded the existing overall state record for that event, but state records can only be set at the state meet. So that 20 feet even edged out the existing state mark, by the way, is 19 feet 9 inches by Ann Wingleth of Lyman back in 2015. On the girls' side, Laramie took first in that meet, Cheyenne Central second, and Torrington third. On the boys' side in that meet, Cheyenne Central first, Laramie second, and Cheyenne East third. Sean Bassard of Cheyenne Central won both of the hurdle races, the 110 and the 300 hurdles. In the National Hockey, the Stanley Cup playoffs in hockey, the Colorado Avalanche rallied to beat Dallas 4-3 in that first round, first game of the second round in that series last night. Dallas scored the first 3 goals of the game. The Avs scored 2 in the second, 1 in the third, and Miles Wood with the overtime goal going end to end to win the game. Dallas is the number 1 seed in the West. The Avs have been on fire, and game 2 of that series will be on Thursday. That's it in sports.
I just got a note from Greg, who's in Cheyenne. I'd rather be slapped in the face with a taco than a frying pan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the taco's a lot less harmful.
Do you want ground beef or shredded beef?
See, I would rather have the ground beef if I was being slapped in the face with a taco. And again, I like cream cheese on mine.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah, some people, not cream, I'm sorry, not sour cream.
Sour cream,
is what I want, yeah. Some people like hot sauce, stuff like that. But I think if it's a slap in the face, the hot sauce would sting.
Yeah, but if you're going to get slapped in the face by a taco, get the hottest sauce you can.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd rather she was hot and then I had sour cream.
Well, no, you have to melt, meat in the middle.
The meat in the middle.
You're hot, she's hot.
Cheese. Oh, okay, there's the thing. Cheese on it. Do you want hot cheese? Because I could burn you, Frank.
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You're into pain.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Well, now we know something about Frank we didn't want to know. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of, we're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Open phones begins in the 8 o'clock hour. So you can change the subject if you want. That's fine by me. 888-97 Woods. That's 888-97 WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. It's a Wednesday, so over the hump we go. Weather today is going to be schizophrenic, just like your university college kids.
Today's show is sponsored by Wet Dog Scented Toilet Cleaner.
Yum.
Get rid of those rough stains.
That was, just horribly bad. But I let it do it because some of you out there like bad jokes, so fine. All right, right now we are entering the most dangerous time for this radio program, and it happens on a daily basis. Not just on Fridays. Most talk shows only do open phones on Fridays. But on this program, it happens at some point every single day.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave. All right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. Real quick, I was watching on the ridiculously large television that they put in the studio with me, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, and he's talking about universities in Florida. First off, did not know the first and second least expensive universities in America are in Florida. Gainesville, Florida, and Tallahassee, and yet those are very good universities. At the same time, he points out that anybody who wants to protest, and it's been tried at Florida universities, they're simply not putting up with it. If you have a point of view, you're allowed to express it. But what's been going on in other universities across the country, he's just not putting up with it. Now, I was happy to see that here in Wyoming, there were some pro- and anti-Palestine protesters. In fact, a group that got together just to show something, make some kind of a statement about the dead on both sides. But those have been peaceful demonstrations where people just spoke their minds, and that was it. Now, I think it was Columbia University, Governor DeSantis said, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think it was Columbia University, where one group took the janitor hostage. George Washington University, they defaced the statue of George Washington. And in many other universities as well, broken glass, spray painting, graffiti all over things, defacing, doing damage to property, intimidating people, and so on and so on. And that's what's not being put up with. So in the state of Florida, the answer is just no. You try that here, you're going to, and this is his words, the governor's words, not mine. You try that here, you will face the consequences. Okay, that's good. So when you take a look at what's happening in Florida right now at their universities, there are some peaceful demonstrations that have happened. They did try at the university in Gainesville, that Occupy thing, which did not last long. There were even some agitators, because in many cases, over half of the people there at the universities are agitators. And they showed up with plywood they had cut into square shields with nails sticking out. Those kinds of agitators. They did not last long at all and were pushed off the campus. So once again, Governor DeSantis of Florida is taking a stand that many other states and even universities are not taking, which I think is the way to deal with this. If somebody has something to say, even if I disagree with you got something to say it, especially if you're on a university campus. You're allowed to speak your mind, go ahead. But when you start to occupy, no, that's not allowed. And when you start to agitate and intimidate, take a janitor hostage? No. Breaking windows, spray painting things, defacing statues? No. At that point, you just need to, as Governor DeSantis said, you just need to face the consequences. All right, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. I have a lot to cover, so I'm going to start topic hopping. If I'm doing that, you can too. 888-97 Woods is the phone number, or a lot of people message me by texting me on the Wake Up Wyoming app. Go to your app store, type in Wake Up Wyoming, it downloads. It has a lot of features. They're all free. And when you hit the chat option, you can send me text messages and pictures and videos and stuff like that, and I'll answer back both on and off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, we apparently are living in the end times.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying, just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
Something's not working out for the cult of climate change. Now, I had no problem at all when Elon Musk started with the Tesla automobile. Has been groundbreaking in many ways. What I didn't like was so much of it was built on government subsidies and so on. And I didn't want to see that. If you're going to do this, just do it in free and open market. And if people want it, they'll buy it. And because of that, Tesla won, not the first, but one of the first electric cars that went out there. And again, it was innovative, top of the line. Expensive, too. Even with all the subsidies and tax breaks, wow. Still very expensive, yet in many ways groundbreaking. However, like many electric vehicles, not doing well for a multitude of reasons. So, with that in mind, Tesla is starting to have some problems. Now, that doesn't mean that Elon Musk is going to go broke. Elon Musk has his fingers in so many different pies, if you will. He's doing so many different things. Even if Tesla were to go under, it really wouldn't bother Musk. He's doing just fine. He's still going to be worth billions anyway. But Tesla is starting to have some problems. Now, I've already pointed out other problems with automakers like Ford loses billions of dollars every single year in the electric car market. And I mean billions every single year in the electric car market. And they're going to lose more than ever, according to the most recent numbers that have been put out this year, 2024. It's not good. Tesla is reaching a point where not only are they starting to lay off some people, but some of the CEOs for Tesla, some of the big high-up mucky-mucks in the company, are starting to look for other work and leave. Now, again, that doesn't mean the company's done. That doesn't mean they're bankrupt overnight, but this does show trouble for Tesla. So we'll see how this plays out for them. But now this is one of many companies that's having problems in the electric car market. And the reason I bring this up is because you're not just the president, but other countries as well, trying to push everybody into electric vehicles. And they want to do it by a certain date on the calendar. And it doesn't look to me like they're going to make it at all. Story says, Business Insider reports that Tesla has been conducting a series of layoffs over the past 4 weeks. The latest round of cuts, which took place Sunday night, has left employees uncertain about their future with the company. According to Business Insider, 4 workers reported that their managers notified them of additional cuts of their teams Monday morning, while several Tesla workers took to LinkedIn to share their experiences with the layoffs that happened over the weekend. So the layoffs began April 14th. Elon Musk, Tesla's CEO, announced the company would be slashing more than 10% of its workforce, and also a lot of duplicated roles there, too. Lee is in Casper. Morning, Lee.
Good morning, Glenn.
Yes, sir.
I just called in to answer a question you had about a lunar day here a while back.
All right.
Lunar day is 29 Earth days and 12 hours.
Okay.
Plus a little.
Interesting.
So it's quite long.
Well, now, interesting because now the question, though, was not so much about a lunar day, but what time is it on the moon? So, in other words, not the whole day. But let's go ahead and pick a crater on the moon somewhere, and you're standing inside that crater. What time is it?
Well, it depends on where the sun's setting in the sky.
Yeah.
But you figure 29 days and 12 hours to a day.
Right.
So it could be 12 o'clock if it's the sun's straight up in the air,
Right.
lunar time.
This is where, see, it's a fascinating question, which is something, if we're going to start having people living up there, then we're going to have to figure out what time it is, because those people also have to deal with people back on Earth, too. And so that's why there's a bit of a study going on to find out, well, what time is it? Do they have time zones on the moon like we do here on Earth? Or do they do like a Zulu time thing like they do in the military and for airline traffic, where it's one time for the entire planet? Or in this case, the moon, one time. It's a 24-hour clock, and it's the same time everywhere at the same moment.
Well, then probably just use Zulu time, which is Greenwich Mean Time, and run the one clock, because people run on a 24-hour clock, and they need their sleep and their daytime. So it'd probably be just one Zulu time for the whole moon to keep them on an even schedule.
I would say that's probably the best way to go, and that's what I would suggest that they do. But I think, to me, Lee, it's a very interesting question, and I just can't wait until they solve it. But, if people in government are solving it, it's probably going to take a decade and about $250 million.
Probably.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for calling, Lee. I appreciate it. Interesting question. If you were standing somewhere on the moon, in moon time, what time is it where you are? We've never tried to answer that before. Someone's finally looking into it.
In Washington today, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down a landmark decision. The court reaffirmed the legality of the death penalty on the grounds that it is, quote, totally badass.
Legal experts are already talking about how this clearly marks a trend towards the Roberts Court being less strictly constitutional and more strictly awesome.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, on air, online, and on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is K2 Radio.
8:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Got a couple more things here from the cult of climate change. Then next half hour, I'll get into other topics. But you can interrupt me at any time. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Headline, Stumpy. The beloved Washington, D.C. tree is going to be cut down because of climate change. You're going to cut down a tree because of... Okay. Not sure how this works. Fans are flocking to see the lone specimen that skyrocketed to fame on the internet before it's chopped down because of climate change. Remember, chopping down trees for climate change. This also is... places, even when we go down to South America, let's go to the Amazon, where they cut down whole acres and acres of trees to put up wind and solar farms, but also to get at the aluminum and rare earth minerals under the Amazon. So you can't go cut down the Amazon rainforest, as they call it, because you're causing climate change, unless you're cutting down the forest to prevent climate change. Then go ahead and do it. Somehow that works. Also, we're supposed to be, when a tree dies, we're supposed to bury it underground so its CO2 doesn't get out into the atmosphere as it decomposes. Yeah, that's a thing too. But all right. Story says it often takes a seminal event to galvanize public attention. Sometimes it's terrorism. Sometimes it's tragedy. Other times it's landscaping. It says here, we are reliably informed by our media that the love for Stumpy knows no bounds. As the Washingtonian, which is a newspaper out there, Washingtonian describes in the headline, people can't get enough of Stumpy. Now, if you're wondering what Stumpy looks like, there's this pond, sort of, if you will, out in front of the Washington Monument. And is that the Washington Monument? It may not be. Anyway, it's in front of one of the monuments in the mall. And it's one of those cherry blossom trees. And it's just not very big. It sort of sits out a little bit in the water, kind of. It's right on the shoreline there. And it never got very big. So that's why the story has gone viral. It's also referred to as the most beloved tree by people who are watching it. It does still bloom every single year. And the narrative, according to NPR, refers to Stumpy as cherished and beloved. But, well, some people think that it needs to be cut down. In fairness, the trees were infested with insects some time ago. They blame that on climate change. This is after securing generations of Japanese dominance and refusing, a second batch of non-agricultural trees was sent in 1912 after the first batch was failed. Now we have all these wonderful cherry trees by the mall in Washington. Stumpy would have been to the right of the photo that I'm looking at right now, but apparently they took it out. Stumpy, he came from social media in 2020, where people first started noticing this pathetic little tree here. And it just keeps trying to grow, but all it has is like maybe one or two branches sticking out of the top. And the rest of it just looked just completely, just pathetic. So, let's see. Loads of groups, 20 or so, people lined up to take pictures before they went ahead and took Stumpy down. And arborists say Stumpy's interior trunk is hollow, a reason enough to place it among 158 trees scheduled to be cut down. And they're blaming climate change. They say this is happening because of climate change. Not that something natural happened to the tree, disease or something like that, but that's because you were driving an SUV. Now, the next story. Headline, so much for going green. Eco-ferries have transported fuel about 8,000 miles for the good of the planet. That's a lot of fuel going a long way. The SMP's delayed ferries have hit a new farce. It says after emerging as their special green fuel must be transported 8,000 miles from Qatar, driven 1,000 more miles each year by road. Vessels were designed with dual fuel engines which could run on liquefied natural gas, which, by the way, the Biden administration is trying to hold back from getting out there. Designed to cut emissions as well as not using diesel. However, 8 years after they began work on these ferries, the Scottish government says there's no clear date when they can start using these ferries, so they must do everything by truck, diesel-powered trucks. So in other words, they have this fuel, which is supposed to be green fuel, that's supposed to be operating the ferries, right? With me? Okay. In order to get the green fuel to operate the ferries to save the planet, they have to put it in a fleet of diesel trucks and transport it. And they transport it by diesel truck about 8,000 miles total when you add everything up in order to get to where it needs to be, which doesn't sound very green to me. Now, we got to get this green energy. It would have been a lot better if they had just created the diesel fuel real close on site and just used it locally. But now you got to take your so-called green fuel from way on the other side of the planet and transport it way over by ship, by diesel truck, etc., in order to use it to save the planet in a local area. Wouldn't it have been better if you just used local diesel locally instead of transporting the green fuel across the planet? All right. Somehow that's not working out as far as going green. seems like it's causing more pollution than you're solving. Coming up on 8:30, local news. And your phone calls. Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake up, Wyoming. Glenn Woods is live on AM 1030 K2 Radio and the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
.36 at times. Wake Up Wyoming. All right, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Hey, KC Wyoming, you're up. Colorado company wants to ramp up production of uranium near you. This is, again, Cowboy State Daily story. Colorado-based Energy Fuels, Inc. is preparing to ramp up its Nicholas Branch uranium mine near KC, Wyoming, for production by 2025, so by next year. So Nichols Ranch and other uranium mines located in Wyoming and elsewhere could produce up to 2 million pounds of uranium per year, with the Wyoming mine representing, it says, a significant expansion. So there's already the mine there. They want to expand this thing. On a recent 2024 first quarter conference call with the Wall Street Analysis, they said that the company is building a combined uranium and rare earth mineral company that's exploring possible acquisition opportunities. So, okay. That's yet another place where Wyoming is not just energy, but mineral competitive, too. Yeah, Wheatland, there are people exploring rare earth mineral mining there. Newcastle, too, in that area. Seems to be that nice area of the state that we often look at as the flat plains area of Wyoming, much of which seems to have a whole lot, the eastern side of Wyoming, seems to have a whole lot underneath that. Maybe a few generations ago, they would have looked at it and said, absolutely useless. But back then, they didn't know a whole lot about uranium or rare earth minerals or what they can do with it. Today, though, we're realizing what we can. And once again, Wyoming seems to be rich in it. Another story I have for you, again, it's the same source, Cowboy State Daily. Cheyenne parents want to know why sexual identity survey was kept from them. The story says a sexual identity survey reportedly made available to Cheyenne high school students, but not made available to parents, prompted they're using the word an animated turnout of parents and substitute teachers at Laramie County School District 1 board meeting Monday night. Quote, the questions were inappropriate, according to one Cheyenne parent told the Board of Trustees. Unless those pictures were taken, parents would not have known about the survey. So I guess pictures were taken about the survey, or parents would have not known about it. And they didn't appreciate the questions being asked. I haven't seen the questions being asked, but parents are saying not appropriate. So this gentleman was referring to photographs substitute teachers at Gene Clemenson said he took while at Cheyenne High School of a poster bearing different QR codes. And then what it said on the different posters and so on. Okay, so those who spoke out during the comment section of Monday night's meeting said the QR codes were only accessible by those with a school email address, which excluded parents. But the Parents Defending Education story includes photographs of what it says is they say a harassment survey, which the left-hand code links. I'd have to see the details of this. I'm not sure all of what they were talking about, but the survey asked the students if he or she is a member of Gender Sexuality Alliance, a school club whose stated mission was to promote LGBTQ acceptance and so on. And this is where they say a lot of the questions in this, some parents say, are not appropriate for their kids. The parents want to be in on this, in other words. Don't do something like this without the parents knowing and approving because it's their kid. So they said the school could not be reached immediately for any comment on this. This one parent says he's from New Jersey and he's seen insidious questions like that dissolve into tyranny. Again, I would have to see exactly what it is in context to know myself. This is what they are saying. So in a posted publication comment to Cowboy State Daily, the school district confirmed it had learned of the flyer last week and has removed it from the high school. So it sounds to me when I read that it wasn't put out by the school but by the club is what it sounds like to me. Multiple speakers referenced the new Parental Rights in Education Act, which became law March 5th without Governor Mark Gordon's signature. So for those who don't know, in the state of Wyoming, if the House and Senate passes a bill and the governor disagrees with it, but he's not going to veto it. So he just doesn't do anything, and it just becomes law without his signature. It will require, the story says, school districts to notify parents of changes in students' educational, physical, mental, or emotional well-being. In other words, while my kid is in school, you are to let me know what's going on with my kid in school. And nothing's to be done behind the parent's back, but also any changes to the student. Because, look, a lot of times kids, the way they act at home around their parents is different from when they're away from their parents and even at school. And parents would like to know about this because they're turning their kids over to school for school to take charge of them. And so they want to know that, well, at one point we trusted our schools completely, but now people are having some problems with that. Lawmakers bantered about this act during their recent legislative session. The story says, trace it back to an incident in Rock Springs that has now given rise to a lawsuit in which a couple has accused Sweetwater County District School last year of treating their daughter as a boy while actively hiding that and any treatment from the parents. That's what the lawsuit says anyway. And that's what prompted this whole thing. So, okay. That's the latest of this, which is in Laramie County right now. And we've got a ways to go to find. The parents have complained. It sounds to me by reading this that it's something that happened with a club, not something the school was doing, but something a club was doing. And I wonder if the club was aware, I don't know, I'm thinking out loud here, that they should have included the parents so they could have read what was on the posters, or did they intentionally make sure the parents could not see what was going on? I don't know the answer to that. I'm asking the questions here. But that's something that's going to be asked. And so far, the school has responded by taking down the posters and talking with parents about it. So we'll see. But whatever the case is, we do now have a law in effect here in the state of Wyoming where if there are changes that are noticed, the school is supposed to report it to the parents. Again, the parents want to know, we put our kid in your charge in the school, so we want to know what's going on, what the school is doing, and anything else that might be going on in the school. They don't want any surprises. We'll see how it plays out. We have and that lawsuit that happened over in Sweetwater County. I heard that the lawsuit was beginning, but I haven't heard any follow-up stories on that yet. I heard what the accusations were by the parents, but it also looks like something that has a ways to go before that's finally settled. Last I heard of it, if I hear anything more, I'll let you know. The school says in Sweetwater County that the accusations are absolutely false. But again, I wasn't there, so I don't know. All right, got Frank up with sports in just a bit. 888-97 was the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS.
I'm gonna pretend like that didn't happen, and everything will be A-okay.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. Start your day the right way. Wake up, Wyoming, with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
8:48 is the time. Wake up, Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, you ever go over to Guernsey Park over there where the reservoir is?
I have been by it, but I have not been to it.
Okay, now, for the longest time, whenever I went into Guernsey, I went to the wagon ruts.
Yeah, they're there. Yeah.
So finally I thought, well, let's go across the street and up and see. Beautiful canyon.
Oh, very much so.
Oh, yeah. And
is it? That's for almost by like their the bombing range.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is, yeah. But the canyon also is a reservoir that they built back in like the late 20s, early 30s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they decided to do a water carnival back then, which was very popular. I mean, you might have like 20-some thousand people showing up back in the 1930s.
Oh, like for water skiing and
They had water skiing. They had boat races.
cool.
They had a bikini contest. Not a bikini, bathing suit. They had bikinis back then.
Excellent.
Bathing suit contest.
Excellent.
But then also, so I was there. I went to this high point. There's a cliff way up high, okay? And you can look way down into the canyon and the water below. And they had a plaque up there, a historic plaque, right?
Mm-hmm.
In which I read this. An automobile was driven off Brimmer Point during 1935's water carnival into Lake Guernsey. The event was repeated for years during the celebrations at the park and will be remembered by old-timers who attended this as children.
So how many cars were in the lake?
Yes. Now, first off, I would have to correct them. I don't think anybody drove it off. I think they pushed it off.
Yeah.
Because you would die.
Yeah, or or you put a brick on the gas pedal.
Right, and then that was my next question was how many cars were at the bottom of the lake. Now, they did this a few times, and then whoever was in charge of the park said, no more of that.
Yeah, because you have more cars down there.
Yes, and you got to picture, folks, what cars looked like back in the 1930s when they did this. All right, so instead, a guy went ahead and across the chasm there, strung a rope. Now, what he told people he was going to do was shimmy out across the rope and then let go and drop 100 feet into the water. He lied. He set it up, the rope was at an angle, so this dummy would slide down like it was shimmying across,
Okay.
and then it would fall. And then he was in a boat where it was supposed to be the rescue boat, and he would magically appear in the boat. Here I am, and it fooled everybody. Yeah, he never actually did that. But if you want to see the whole story, and I also have a poster with the story, Water Carnival and Boat Races, North Platte Valley Boat Club, Lake Guernsey. Now think about this. If you won the motorboat race in 1930 money, $500.
Oh, that'd be $5 million today.
Right. Free bathing privileges,
Well, of
plenty of
course.
shade, band music as well, and free ice for everybody.
Free.
Wow.
Free ice.
Yeah. Swimming and diving contests under supervision of Sea Scouts.
Who are they?
I don't know.
Lifeguards?
I guess. But they don't call them lifeguards out there. They call them Sea Scouts.
Okay.
I want to know how many boats are at the bottom of that canyon.
You can go
Or
find. Yeah, please find that out. All right. In high school track and field from over the weekend, it was the big Wiseman meet in Torrington. The Cheyenne schools and Laramie were in that meet. Cheyenne East super athlete Talia Morris went 20 feet even in the long jump. Now that 20-foot mark exceeds the existing overall state record in the event. Now, state records can only be broken at the state meet, which would be next week. That the existing overall state record, 19 feet 9 inches by Ann Wigleth of Lyman, and she set that back in 2015. So Talia Morris with a serious chance to break the overall record coming up next week at the state track meet. Also on the girls' side of that deal, Laramie took first with 176.99 points. Cheyenne Central second with 128.33, and Torrington third with 106 points. On the boys' side, Central finished first with 177 points. Laramie second with 170, and East third with 111. Sean Bassett of Central won both of the hurdle races, the 110 and the 300. In girls' high school softball, the regular season will be coming to a close soon. Then we'll have the state tournament in Gillette on the 16th through the 18th. The top 4 teams from the East and the top 4 teams from the West qualify for that state tournament. In the West, Natrona is currently in third place at 14-6-2, but Kelly Walsh is in fifth place at 5-14-1. On the East side, Cheyenne East is in third at 19-5. Laramie is fifth with a record of 9-12. Cheyenne Central is 10-13, and they are in sixth place. And Cheyenne South is 0-17 and in seventh place. In the Stanley Cup playoffs in hockey, what a game for the Colorado Avalanche. They rallied from 3 goals down to beat Dallas on the road 4-3 in the first game of that second round series. Dallas scored 3 times in the first, and then they answered with 2 goals in the second, 1 in the third, and then and Miles Wood went end to end to end the game at overtime on a great individual play. So the Avs now have beaten Dallas 4 out of 5 this season and lead that series 1-0 in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals series, and then that deal will be tomorrow in Dallas.
What are the ratings like for hockey?
I think the playoffs, not so much in the regular season, but they really go up in the playoffs because the intensity goes up.
Oh, okay.
And fans of hockey, they're very loyal and very rabid.
Right. That's usually, to me, I don't know, but I picture it as one of those groups where there's not an enormous number of hockey fans, but those people who are hockey fans, man, they're loyal.
They're all over this.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on your weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. Open phones to 888-97 Woods. That's 888-97 WOODS. Wake up, Wyoming. 9:06 the time. Wake up, Wyoming. Wednesday. Over the hump we go. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS.
Today's show is sponsored by Wet Dog Scented Toilet Cleaner.
Yeah.
Get rid of those rough stains.
At least it wasn't wet salt scented toilet paper is what I was afraid he was going to say.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move.
Again, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, or text me on the Wake Up Wyoming app by using the chat option, which is free to download at your app store if you haven't done that already. So a real quick note on this, and I'm going to move on. Headline, billionaire family bankrolling both anti-Israel groups and those battleground Democrats. Several House Democrats face tough re-election fights, have accepted funds from a major political family, bankrolled a number of groups participating in the protest sweeping college campus at the same time. Just one of many places where the money is coming from. So I'm going to be interested to learn more about that. Back here in Wyoming, this is a Wildfile story. I have to be careful when I read from Wildfile because they become very left-leaning in their stories. Many of their stories are opinion pieces, but all right. Property taxes skyrocketing? Question mark. Thousands more now qualify for refunds here in Wyoming. Story says after Wyoming property tax refund programs help a record number of Wyoming homeowners last year, lawmakers boosted the program with an additional $20 million and expanded eligibility during the 2024 budget session. 2,000 more households are expected to qualify for relief. From Governor Mark Gordon, I want to thank the legislator for endorsing this. Okay. And he was giving grief because there was one relief program that he got rid of, that he vetoed. But all right. Property tax values rose in Wyoming in recent years, so did property taxes. The result, outcry from homeowners. You know about all of this. So 5 bills were pushed across the finish line. 4 of the bills made it into law. Governor Gordon vetoed just one of them. Let's see. The refund program, homeowners have until June 3rd to apply for the refund program through the Department of Revenue website at the Treasurer's office. But first, applicants will need to pay their property tax in full. Then you get your refund. Here's a quote. It is a refund of taxes already paid. So that's important. according to the revenue director talking to Wildfile. While some homeowners pay their tax bill directly to their local county treasurer's office, others have it folded into the monthly mortgage payment. Either way, applicants will need to provide proof that the bill has been paid. The second half of 2023 taxes are not due until May 10th, or 10th of May, and many mortgage companies don't pay those until the second half of taxes, right before the deadline. So beware of that. Then after that's paid, you can go ahead and qualify for this. And the story goes into quite a bit of detail about how this works. If it's something that you want to take advantage of, then, you want to go ahead and take a look at it. How this works, get a hold of your county clerk for one. They should be able to help you through all of this. All right, next one. And I'm just doing some house cleaning here with some of these topics. Study finds a shortage of qualified workers to keep up with Wyoming's booming tourism sector. Oh, there's jobs out there. Story says the report indicates, and this is, again, I got to be careful, it's Wyoming Public Media. And public radio and public television, again, have begun picking sides over the years. One side in particular has gotten really bad. In fact, Congress will hold hearings on that, the Republicans will anyway, about how public radio, public television, public media has gotten really biased over the years. I moved them in my files. I used to have them in the news file that I looked at every single day when I was putting this program together. They've been moved to a file where I just monitor people. It's not news or opinion. I just like to monitor certain groups to see what they're talking about. And Wyoming Public Media, as well as just public media in general, is one of those groups that I monitor. I don't take them as a news source anymore. All right, so this story here that they filed, it should be benign enough. A report indicates statewide enrollment and graduation rates from Wyoming Community College will mean the tourism field soon won't have enough workers, because oftentimes people working in the tourism business, well, go somewhere and you often find college kids working these tourism jobs. And many of us, I did. Not in Wyoming, but I did. That's because the industry is looking at a 24% increase in employment over the next 6 years. That's more growth than any other Wyoming industry, including energy and natural resource sector. Dan McCoy, with the Wyoming Outdoor Recreation and employees, are increasingly seeking staff that specialize in what they do. Certain certifications. Those certifications could be something as simple as a wilderness first aid course, something like that. So the study recommends going forward, including making marketing for statewide education programs and partnerships with the college. Either way, tourism industry in Wyoming is growing, is what they're saying, and they're worried that they're not going to have enough employees to fill all of those jobs. And we'll say, oftentimes, as you know, many of those jobs, I know because, again, not in Wyoming, but I started off doing jobs like that. They don't pay a whole lot. But then again, there's supposed to be entry-level jobs. Anyway, hello, Keith. Keith is in Cheyenne. Why don't they just reduce the taxes rather than laundering money back and forth via the refund? Now, that's a great idea, Keith. I kind of wondered that, too, with their refund program for property taxes. That's a great question. Why do you have to pay your full taxes and then get a refund? Wouldn't it make more sense that you just didn't have to pay it in the first place? That's a great question. I even still like the idea it was looked at and taken seriously for a short while. I think we need to bring it up again in the next legislative session. That idea of swapping out a sales tax for the property tax so nobody has to pay property taxes. There were some things that needed to be fixed on that idea, but I think it was overall a good idea. That's something we should look at as well. But yeah, Keith, you got it right. That confused me too. Why do they make you pay? If you're going to get a tax refund, a property tax refund in the state of Wyoming, and it's not going to be all of it, but some of it, why do you have to pay it in full and then get your refund back? Why not just cut the tax rate? And I guess maybe it's because government does not like to do things in a simple way. They like to overcomplicate. which is something I often complain about. Let's wake up one.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of answers here, which is one of the reasons, not just for the telephones, but for the Wake Up Wyoming app. Question by Keith and Cheyenne. When it comes to Wyoming taxes, there's some tax relief coming in Wyoming for property taxes. And the idea is you have to pay your property tax in full, then apply for your tax relief, in which case you'll get a refund of some of that money. So Keith asked, why don't they just reduce the tax rather than laundering the money back and forth? Jude in Mills says, because they can skim off the top. DJ in Mills, DJ Wildfree in Mills says, taxes will only be cut if spending is cut. Otherwise, it's just a deceptive shuffle of money. Me and Laramie says tax refunds create more jobs. Jay in Casper says, listening to KOA yesterday, the two legislators from the Colorado State Republicans giving out an online of the situation is as bad in Wyoming, but far worse in commie radio. Oh, okay. Dave in Torrington, happy Wednesday. I can answer your question as to why you have to pay taxes before getting a refund. Well, hold on. First, I'll do Chet and Yoder. Probably get interest from it somehow. So, in other words, are you thinking, Chet, they make some money off of the interest money while it's sitting in the account? Okay, that's possible too. But okay, Dave in Torrington says he has the answer here. I can answer your question, why you have to pay taxes before getting the refund. They know that some percentage of the people eligible for the refund won't apply for it. If they refund it up front, they won't get to keep it. That's an interesting possibility. I think that might be up there among probably some of the best ideas as to why. But again, if you really want to refund people, just give it to them. In fact, one of the things I suggested was, I'm going to pick a number. Let's say that a certain county in Wyoming, the property taxes had gone up like 30%. I'm just picking numbers, right? And you would rather put the property taxes back where they were before. That 30% bump was unwarranted. It's because people were buying homes for more than they were worth. Now, your county still wants to keep that money. They act like they need that extra money. They don't. They were doing just fine without that 30% bump. So why not just say, that's too much, we're going to cut it back, and just cut it back? That's really all they ever had to do. That's too high. We're not going to let property taxes get that high. That 30% bump that just jumped up there, we're going to cut it back to what it was before. Boom, done. That's really all they had to do. Now, one of the things that I said before that I really did like, I like the concept of it, although we needed to look at it more, but swapping out a sales tax for a property tax. And that would not make your sales tax for items in Wyoming higher than surrounding states. We'd still be lower in sales tax than surrounding states. But the idea is I like to uncomplicate things, as you know. That's why I wrote a book called The Uncomplicated Life. I like to uncomplicate things. I have talked to people who are tax assessors and asked them exactly how does this work? And they get confused. And they admit it's a little convoluted and confusing. They take certain metrics and they plug it into a program and it spits out where your property tax is supposed to be. And it's a system that doesn't work well, and nobody really understands it. That's why I like the sales tax idea, because if I go out and buy a new shirt, a percentage of the sales tax goes to the county to take care of county things that we actually do need. And I also do want county government to be as small as possible, but that's how that would be taken care of. Now, that's something that anybody understands. If you purchase something, that part of the sales tax goes to the county. Boom, done. Everybody understands that. There's nothing to figure out. NJ, Cat, and Mills, all taxes are theft. Now, let me explain what he's saying there. All taxes are theft. Because for the longest time, there was a group out there online saying taxation is theft. Here's what they mean by that. So you go out and you earn some money. Whose money is that? Did you earn it honestly? It's your money. Because you earned it honestly, it's yours. All right? Nobody has the right to that. To take that money without your permission is what theft is. Now, if you freely give your money, then that's not theft because you voluntarily, no coercion, no pressure, you voluntarily gave your money. That's not theft. But when it's taken from you without your permission and under threat of government, because if you don't pay it, government's going to come along and something bad's going to happen. Like they might take your house if it's property taxes. That's why you've heard that slogan for a while, taxation is theft. Yeah, because it's your money. Which is why I got into, I sent a note to one liberal organization in Wyoming. They had used an actor in Jackson Hole and said that he doesn't need, because he was going to get a tax relief too. Harrison Ford, he was going to get tax relief under this program as well. And Harrison Ford is rich. He doesn't need any handouts. Well, allowing Harrison Ford to keep his own money is not a handout. It's his money. It is not a handout to allow anybody to keep their own money, and taking it without their permission is the definition of what theft is. So off I go back to the phones now, where, of course, this is a hot-button issue for her. So Jude is out there in Mills, Wyoming. Hey, Jude.
Hey, good morning, Glenn. I just wanted to remind everybody that when they raised the property tax, okay, now it started with a financial committee up in Sheridan. Rose went to that, and I listened in on the one that she was attending, but there was one after that, too. And it was telling us how they came up with these numbers. Okay, now what they said they did, is they took the surrounding states, like, 5 or 6 of them around us, and they used that as a kind of a way to generate what our taxes should be. Okay, but keep in mind, all of these surrounding states have millions of people. Okay, we're like 580,000. That's including the children. So basically, our taxable people are only about 148,000. And we're being taxed. Some of us have gone up as much as 300%. And the reason they did this is so that they could say, well, we're still cheaper than the states around us. Well, they're not telling you that all of these states around us have 5 million, 4 million, 3 million, 6 million, that tax revenue is divided up amongst. And it's a boondoggle. It's a boondoggle. And the reason they do that is they put it into a computer, and the computer tells them, AI now, this is your AI working, and this is what your taxes will be, which is totally wrong because Wyoming, 1, doesn't have the population of these other states. 2, our property is being inflated by people coming in, like you said, paying extra amounts for these properties that really aren't worth that.
Right.
And C, most people don't know, especially the old folks, that they can get their property tax back.
Right.
If they apply for the program.
I got to run to news time. Thank you, Jude. Appreciate it. Coming up on local news and weather forecast. Wake Up Wyoming.
40. Serious takes on local politics, or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. All right, so 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Oh, by the way, I keep saying there's people who text me all day long on the Wake Up Wyoming app. Go to your app store. Download just Wake Up Wyoming. News, weather, sports, all sorts of things. It's all free. Get news alerts if you want them. We do that. But also you can use the chat option to send me text messages when I'm on the air, and you can listen to old programs, because when I get off the air, this becomes a podcast. And it's condensed. We get rid of news, sports, weather, most commercials, to condense it down so it's not an entire 4-hour show. Then you can listen when you want for free. So you touch on demand, you touch Wake Up Wyoming, open the app, touch on demand, Wake Up Wyoming, select your episode, start it, stop it, pause it, rewind it, share it, whatever you want to do. All right, so some of you may have heard by now, the Boy Scouts have changed their name. Now, the Boy Scouts went into bankruptcy a while ago. They were having problems. A lot of the problems had to do with the sexual exploitation of young men, and then they started to allow girls into the Boy Scouts, and other changes that were made that people weren't happy with, because a lot of people liked the traditional Boy Scouts the way they were. Okay, so the name changes to be more inclusive. So now they're going to be Scouting America instead of Boy Scouts. Okay. What I said earlier about this is I was a Cub Scout way back when, but that was a long time ago, and I just didn't care to pursue it after that. Cub Scouting was fun. I just didn't really have much of an interest beyond that, but I did appreciate what the Boy Scouts did all of those years. So they were originally started as a Christian organization. The idea was to take young men and to teach them not just survival skills, but work skills, work ethic, how to be polite, good citizens, et cetera, right? If over the years the Boy Scouts have decided to change, and as they may see it, change with the times, however they want to see it, my thought, being the more libertarian person, is they are a private organization and they can do whatever they want. And if this is what they think is best for their organization, then let them do it. And I do know some years ago when Boy Scouts were having problems and were into bankruptcy, I remember getting calls from around Wyoming from some people who were starting their own local version of the Boy Scouts. And I do know that some of those organizations, not just in Wyoming, but in other states, exist, in which case, if you no longer like where the Boy Scouts are going with this, then don't send your kid there. Either join a different organization that's more traditional, which you like, or start your own. Because I also hold with, I am disappointed in some of the things that they've done over the years, but I guess mainly what I think of is private organizations have the right to do what they want to do. It's their club. Literally, it's their club. And they've made quite a business out of it, too. It's literally theirs. So as a private organization, you can be upset with the name change and also the rule changes that they have in there, but it is theirs. So they get to go whatever direction they want to go. And if you would like to do something different, then, again, there are organizations that mirror what the Boy Scouts used to be, or you can start your own if that's what you would like to do. That's what I like about a free market country, because it's freedom of ideas. Now, I don't know if the Boy Scouts survive this or not. We'll see. Because, like I said, they just came out of bankruptcy because they were having so many problems. They had just come out of bankruptcy. And I wonder, I don't know, but I wonder in part, are they doing this because they're being more inclusive, they figure would bring more people in? Before, the Boy Scouts was a very narrow focus. So maybe they don't want to be narrow focused. Maybe they're trying to be as broad as possible, and they think it might be what saves the organization in their minds. I don't know. I'll wait and see. That's about all we can do, is just wait to see what they turn out to be in the end. Do they go out of business? Does this save them? Do they have to rebrand themselves again? I have no idea. I do remember back when I was a Cub Scout, the whole point of being a Cub Scout, was to, again, learn skills for survival in the wilderness, shores, camping, stuff like that, but also learn some good work ethic, how to treat each other, good manners, respect your elders, etc., etc. A lot of traditional values were taught. Is there still a Girl Scouts? Yes, there is. Girl Scouts are still out there. I haven't seen in a while any news on what the Girl Scouts are doing, so I don't know if they're still the same organization or not. But I know that there are still Girl Scouts out there. I know that the Boy Scouts started to include girls, so they can't be the Boy Scouts anymore. They now have girls in there as well. So now Scouting America. But yeah, there's still Girl Scouts last I saw. Haven't heard any controversy, but then again, maybe I just haven't been paying attention to it.
The North American Karen, a wild beast that's dangerous alone but deadly in numbers. When gathered together, they form what is known as a homeowners association. This HOA peruses the gated community on the hunt for a vulnerable manager. But today, their vulnerability will be exposed. A Tyrannus homeboy sapien. The Karens freeze and huddle together in fear. Their phones on video mode, at the ready to call for help from their closest friend of the jungle, the Security Officesaurus. But the harmless Tyrannus goes about his business, paying little attention to the Karens. But it's too late. The Karens have already been frightened. They turn and make their escape. Rarely do the Karens find themselves on the receiving end of fear. But today, they are reminded that the world is not their home. They trot home to their husbandus flaccidus to complain that their neighborhood is going to hell.
Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
9:48 is the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Frank Gambino, who's over there in the ice box. So, Frank, there's a sign that went up in the town of Madrid. Now, I don't think that that's in Spain.
It could be like Southern Illinois, something like that? Or,
I guess.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
sometimes,
Tennessee,
it could be, yeah. And I take a look at sometimes when people put up things like this, and I think, I want to do more of this. Not just here at work, but around the state.
Oh, okay.
Right? The town of Madrid will no longer be responsible for UFO abductions, werewolf maulings, creepy Yeti hugs, vampire romances, unsolicited Bigfoot pictures, unicorn stabbings. Got to watch out for those. That's horrible. Pixie glitter, chupacabra bites, average size centaurs, sticky vortexes. I've seen vortexes, but never a sticky one.
Yeah, no, neither have I, no.
Or broke leprechauns.
Okay.
Now, by broke, I wonder that I mean no money? I don't know.
Or just broken, that they don't work.
Sure.
Somebody threw them over or something.
If you had a leprechaun and it didn't work anyway.
So this town is banning them, or they're just kind of pleading?
They're just not responsible for any of that.
They're pleading, please don't do that.
Now, if you get stabbed by a unicorn, don't go crying to them.
Oh.
See what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. If you get a hug by a Yeti, which is not going to be a good thing. It's not going to end well.
No.
They're not responsible for the Yeti hug. Get abducted by a UFO, you happen to be on their property, don't blame them.
Okay. So they're not allowed to arrest the UFO for...
Nothing like that, no. So don't sue the city for that, because it's not going to happen. They're not responsible.
Okay.
They absolve themselves. Now, I want to know, are these things actually a problem in their town?
They must be, or that's a pretty lengthy list, don't you think?
It is, and it's a nice sign, too.
Oh, well.
It's a really big metal sign, black letters, yellow background.
Okay. Right on the outskirts of town?
Right there, yeah.
Well,
okay.
I think that's a good way to let for visitors to know.
Yes. You saw the sign when you came in, so don't give us any kind of lip. We don't want to hear it. I think it has to have been something in the past, because every time there's a warning label up, Frank, something happened.
Right. So what happened in Madrid? National Stanley Cup playoffs in hockey. The Colorado Avalanche beating Dallas in overtime last night, 4-3 in Game 1 of their second-round playoff series. Dallas scored 3 goals in the first period. The Avs answered with 2 in the second and 1 in overtime as Miles Wood went end-to-end for the game-winning goal. Dallas is the number 1 seed in the West, but they have lost to the Avalanche 4 of 5 so far this season, and Game 2 will be on Thursday. In the NBA, the Denver Nuggets will be at Minnesota tomorrow, and the Nuggets are trailing that second-round playoff series 2-0 after an ugly 106-80 loss in Game 2. Nuggets player Jamal Murray fined $100,000 for throwing a towel and a heating pad in the general direction of the referees in the second quarter of that game, and he didn't even receive a technical foul. Either the refs blew it off or didn't see it at all. Murray was having a miserable game. He was 3 of 18 from the field and technically threw in the towel. In high school softball for the ladies, we only have a few more regular season games for the state tournament, which will be the 16th through the 18th in Gillette. So the top 4 from the West and top 4 from the East make the state tournament. In the West, and Natrona is a 3 seed. So they're in third in the standings so far at 14-6-2. Kelly Walsh is 5th in the standings at 5-14-1. In the East, Cheyenne East is 3rd in the standings with a record of 19-5. Laramie is 5th at 9-12. Cheyenne Central 6th at 10-13. And Cheyenne South is 0-17, so they are in the 7th place. And in high school track and field, the Wiseman meet in Torrington over the weekend. Cheyenne East super athlete Talia Morris in the long jump hit 20 feet even. That exceeded the existing overall state record, but state records can only be broken at the state meet. The existing overall record is 19 feet 9 inches in the long jump by Ann Wigleth from Lyman, set in 2015. On the girls' side, Laramie finished first in that meet, Cheyenne Central second and Torrington third. On the boys' side, Sean Bassard of Central won 2 events, the 110 and the 300 hurdles. Central finished first with Laramie second and Cheyenne East third in that track meet. That's it in sports.
So how much was that fine for?
$100,000 for throwing in the towel.
Wow.
So he was kind of sitting at the end of the bench, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost really couldn't see it, and all of a sudden there's a heating pad and a towel.
Okay.
And so the other team, you know, Minnesota's like, you didn't see that player was throwing stuff at you?
Okay.
Tee him up and get him out of here. And then the refs go, we didn't really think we saw it.
That will be $100,000, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, video tells the whole story.
Okay, good. Real quick, a friend of mine just sent me a picture. She says, I'm in a waiting room, and there's a magazine rack with nothing but Golf Digest.
Excellent.
She said, please never hate on Reader's Digest again. She just is... She's not where she wants to be right now.
Yeah, well, I'll take the Golf Digest, though.
You will?
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
I'll have her steal every single one and send them to you.
Okay, good luck with the doctors.
Okay. Wake up, Wyoming.